Welcome to CPAC Now, America Uncanceled, for another very special episode of CPAC Now on the road. We are here in Somerset, New Jersey at the A Seat at the Table event, where there's hundreds of grassroots activists ready to get involved and take charge to take back our country. Our very own chairman, Matt Schlapp, is here speaking, as well as CPAC board member Gordon Chang. And we're just going to do a few different interviews to see what people are thinking as we approach this upcoming midterm elections. All right, so we are here with Marla Luciano. Not only is she the event director, the founder of this event, but she is the best dressed person here.
Just one of three directors.
One of three.
Yes, Elizabeth Nader and Alexandra Elliott.
Gotcha. And we are at the A Seat at the Table. Can you just give me a little insight to why this event was needed here in New Jersey?
Absolutely. We have this tremendous grassroots momentum going on in New Jersey. And a friend of mine, Elizabeth Nader, who is one of the co-directors, we went to our first CPAC a little over a year ago, and we thought, wow, this is amazing. We couldn't believe the value and how we left there so educated and ready to come back to our state and win back our state and our country. We said, God, we really would love to get everyone from New Jersey here, but gosh, kind of be hard to get hundreds of people on a plane, right? So let's try to do something in New Jersey. Let's get Matt, let's get the ACU, let's get some speakers, and that's sort of where it started.
Yeah, I mean, throughout the event today, everyone seems very fired up to take this country back and take this state back. We had the election here in November where the governorship was almost overturned to a Republican. What do you think the motivation is going into this midterm elections here in New Jersey?
Yes, I think the motivation is definitely parental choice is one of them. They upset the mama bears and the papa bears. But as you can see with this event and the speakers, theater is great, and the speakers are amazing, and they are educating and motivating our audience. But I don't know if you've ever seen an audience like this fired up and ready to do things. I've had several people today come up to me and they said, I'm ready, I want to do something. So I think the motivation now is the people understand that we can take back our state and we can take back our country.
All right, so we are here with Ian Smith. What is your message to the American people after what the left has done to businesses all around the country? During the COVID times, they tried to shut your gym down. You said no. You fought back. What is your message to the American people going forward to make sure this never, ever happens again?
To have courage and to stand up for what you know in your heart is the right thing. The right choice is very rarely the easy one. But it's always the one worth making, and you will come out of whatever struggles you face stronger and better, and I can certainly attest to that for Attila's Gym. And you will find that there are much more people who agree and support you than people who will criticize you, and those people who criticize are typically ghosts on the internet, people on Twitter. They're not people that would support you in real life anyway. So follow the goal, which was from the beginning to open a business, to be a part of the community, and stand by that, and just go straight through whatever obstacles come your way.
Please welcome Matt Schlapp.
Nice. So we have all this chaos in society. It's actually not chaos. Chaos can actually be a good thing. It's this nihilism. It's this destruction. It's the destruction of society and of culture. I think that when people say cancel culture, they've got it partly right. Cancel culture is a dining room like this might say a group like this can't come. Thank God they decided the opposite, right? They might say your views are intolerant. They won't let you be on a social media platform. They might say that you love America and America is intrinsically racist, so you're a bad person. All that's terrible. But I'm a person of faith, and the person I co-wrote my book with, Deal Hudson, he called me up one day and he's like, cancel culture is a piece of it. There is a spiritual component to what's going on in this country. I feel like I'm standing in front of Bill. Okay, I'm not doing that anymore. There's a spiritual component about this evil battle that's going on in the country. And that's why I choose to call it a great desecration. It's not just about one political view over another political view. It's about taking it all down. Taking down America. When Obama said that we had to fundamentally transform America, they were just words. Sounded weird, Why would you want to transform a great country? Well, maybe some of us gave him the benefit of the doubt and said, well, maybe we want to improve America. I want to improve America. But you couple that with his wife saying, for the first time, I'm proud to be an American. Wait a minute, the first time? I can think about 400 things I'm proud of in the next 40 seconds about America. You start to string these statements together and you realize they've been on a course to bring it all down for a long time. And I think one of the things we have to get really serious about is that things are much worse than we fear they are. And we're brought up to be hopeful and optimistic, and you have to assume it's not as bad, or maybe God is going to get us through it. And I might believe that too. But I think one of the reasons why we're in the bad shape we're in as a country and as a society and as a movement is because we keep just assuming that it will get better. And what's ended up happening is it's gotten worse and worse and worse. And the Republican Party, I'm a proud Republican, but the Republican Party has in its DNA the desire to be liked, to be approved, to not sound too harsh, right? To be someone that is easy to deal with. And when you're dealing with these people that, like in the trailer you just saw, the violence, the hatred, the anger, the desire to despoil your children and your grandchildren with their rot in your schools that you're paying for. When you realize what they're about, I think we should always, I believe in the golden rule, I believe in treating people with respect, but what are you going to do to stop that? What are you going to do? Might you have some sharp elbows? Might you use some tough language? That's kind of what the story that Mercy and I have been through over the course of the last 6 years. And, I lived in Washington, D.C., which Donald Trump changed to the swamp. And that's a pretty perfect description of the place. Life was fine. It was a bipartisan town run by Democrats, but it was bipartisan. If you had conservative or Republican views, you could be accepted. Maybe Trenton's like this or was like this at one point. You could be accepted. And that'll change. That'll change. It became a town that was radicalized by Donald Trump and his supporters. And I'm still shocked to this day, people that I would have considered very close friends. I was boarding a plane yesterday in Denver, and two people who were pretty good friends of mine not that many years ago, one was on Twitter, Sebastian, you'll love this, one was on Twitter calling me a fascist for taking CPAC to this horrible racist country called Hungary, and how I was a political extremist. This is someone a few years ago I would have gone and met for lunch. And then another person was saying similar things about how horrible my wife and I were. Now, because of Donald Trump, I've developed a thicker skin, and I'm going to be okay. And they didn't hurt my feelings. But the fact is this. This cancer that's in our society that seeks to say that anybody who loves America is a nasty person. I've gotten into some trouble because I said, I've put on hold the idea that I run a conservative group, even though I'm a very proud conservative. I'm not backing away from conservative 1 inch. But the battle line has changed. When conservatives used to get together, we would talk about eliminating the capital gains tax, having a strong military, right? The idea of freedom and having free market economic policies and teaching people to love the Lord. And all those things are operable. But the battle line is now America. If you're an American who loves your country and its founding, you are at the heart of the battle. Because in the end, these people that are calling the people of Hungary fascists, That's just an easy argument, false argument to make, to try to say that the very principles that hold Western civilization together are old-fashioned, are nasty, are hateful, are racist. And so what I encourage you all to do is to do what happened to my wife and I. It sounds like a scary word, but you do really have to get radicalized in your love for your country. You have to, people say to me, you have 5 daughters. How do you get to prevent them from becoming Marxists? And I used to say, well, I want to expose them to different books and different points of view, yada, yada, yada. Today, we're into full-scale indoctrination. And that's what we have to do. Your children, my children, your grandchildren, I'm old enough to, I look old enough to have grandchildren, believe it or not, I don't have them. 24 hours a day, the schools, the private schools, the public schools, those screens, their phones, TikTok, Facebook, all day long, the forces of evil are against what you're trying to teach your kids, and you're losing the battle. If your schools are teaching your kids, Gordon, we're the only country that's teaching their kids to hate their own country. Think about that. And we're paying for it. And it's not just the public schools, it's all these elite schools too. If your schools are doing that, show up at that school, get in their face, make them stop, or I'm going to tell you one thing else. I'm the world's worst homeschool parent, and I experienced it during COVID because I was forced to be a homeschool parent. Not all of us have that talent, but get your kids out of those schools if they're teaching you to hate this stuff.
Lady, are you following me? First, you're in Mar-a-Lago with me.
Only if I get a chance to.
You always have the chance to. I mean, she was in Mar-a-Lago with us, following me around, and then you were in our office yesterday. So funny it's to see you here.
Yes, I know, but good things just keep coming together in your life,
They do.
Good people come together all the time. And yes, we do follow each other. We follow each other on how we believe,
Right?
what we believe in.
Right?
And right now, everything's about God and country.
Right?
And I'm just so happy to have the opportunity to share it with everybody, just like you are.
Yeah, you were sharing your message with us, which is going to be on our show tonight as we're filming this. You were talking about how the Christians need to get out there and vote. What is the motivation for Christians, especially now, as they're being canceled constantly? What's the motivation for them to use their voice?
Well, it's very simple. The motivation is that it says in the Bible that God is in control.
Right.
And that he's over the government.
Right.
If we let all the devil's people run the government, exactly how can God be over the government?
Right.
He wants to use us. We're to follow him and do what he wants.
Right.
And if we do that, we will stand for him in our country. We will work for him in our country. We will be part of what that government is in any way we can, whether it's in front of things and part of the people that are running, or it's the people behind the scenes that are supporting them, or it's the people that are going and registering and voting. Those are all things that we can do for our Lord and Savior. He's got us here to do his work,
Right.
not ours.
Right. I couldn't have said it any better, Elaine Beck. If you haven't seen her and Mercy's interview, go check that out on conservative.org. I wonder where I'm going to see you next.
Well, you'll probably see me back in Washington soon. I'm really excited because I'm going to be doing a lot more with CPAC, with Mercedes, with Matt, with all of you, as well as anytime anybody wants to see me, all they have to do is go to proverbsmediagroup.com.
You have your own radio show?
Yes, scroll down the page, and where it says listen now, you can listen to all of my radio shows, and we talk about what the good things that are happening in this country. You need picked up, lifted up. You want to talk about realities, maybe difficult, but we're going to tell you what good is happening. And the name of our show is It's Not About Us.
Amen. Elaine Beck, everyone, a true inspiration here. It was good to see you again.
Thank you. Nice to see you, sweetie. I'll follow you anywhere.
All right, so we are here with Dave Herrera. He is a political candidate here in New Jersey who actually has Matt and Mercy's endorsement. What are you running for?
Running for city council in East Brunswick, and I am the first and only council candidate to ever get a CPAC endorsement. But that's because we showed them what we were about, what we were running on, the principles, the values that I believe CPAC embodies, but that the everyday American wants to hear.
Now, there's a lot of Republicans out there who saw what happened in 2020 and who think that their vote just isn't going to count because of all the fraud and all the evidence behind it. Now, you're explaining why there's so much motivation to get out and vote in general. What's the motivation behind getting out to vote and making sure that your vote counts?
You know what, a lot of people, I used to be one of them, complain on social media.
Right.
A lot of people are keyboard warriors, as we call them. They talk about what they want to see in their communities, what they'd like to do, or what they're unhappy with. But the reality is they don't go to these meetings. They don't go to their board, their council. They don't speak up. And if you don't go out and vote, then you really, unfortunately, don't have a position to be upset about. So we need to make sure that people go out. Make sure you're registered to vote. There's people who showed up who didn't even realize they were still sent mail-in ballots. They want to switch that over. It's a very simple process. Go online, switch it over. There's people that aren't registered to a party, so they can't vote in the primary. There's a lot of things that we need to make sure people do it. But for those of you that, look, while I'm not a huge fan of mail-in ballots, not because of the process of it, but because of how long it's delayed, for those people that feel disenfranchised by that, then we need to make sure that they're going out day of and vote, because we all know that Republicans are day of voters, but they need to go out and make sure they're registered, make sure they're going there, make sure that you contact your Board of Elections, because we had a problem where we had so many people and not enough machines. Make sure that all these things are there, but if you want, the reason I ran, and I'll say this, and that's that, is that if you want change, you have to be the change that you want to see. You can't just talk about it. You actually have to go out, put boots on the ground, like I did, knock on almost 8,000 doors, and, swing a CPAC endorsement, along the way.
All right. Well, Dave, I appreciate your time.
Amen.
Good luck
Thank
this
you.
coming election. We need to start flipping these seats red.
Absolutely.
And by the way, get those kids to come to CPAC. Get their kids to come to a seat at the table. Get those kids around other people who will teach them these basics. And, for me, our story was, when we went to CPAC, Gordon was there, Sebastian was there, and they accused CPAC of starting an international super spreader. You remember this? We had one case, a doctor had corona. I call it Chinese corona. I'm never going to change calling it Chinese corona. And one person came to CPAC sick, one person left CPAC sick. We actually found out later on it was 2 doctors that got sick. We had 10,000 people in a sweaty ballroom, and I thought this is the perfect real-life study. 10,000 people were all over each other, lots of networking, meals together. We didn't have 1,000 dead people. I thought we would. I was watching CNN and getting into a catatonic state of, oh my God, I did kill a whole bunch of people. 2 sick people come, 2 sick people leave, and now the fake news started in. You should have taken the precautions. Why did you put people in jeopardy? Why are they wanted to call it CPAC corona, conservative corona, Trump corona. They went so far as when I shook hands with the president in one European publication, they did a close-up of the handshake and with a red marker circled it and said, this is when Schlapp gives President Trump corona. I never had corona. It didn't matter. It didn't matter. I gave it to Ivanka. I gave it to Jared. I gave it to Ben Carson. Everybody, I was in a phantom way giving them corona. By the way, all the Democrats met down the street around the same time. They had 10, 12 cases of corona. Couldn't find a news story. Michael Bloomberg showed up, ate that pizza, licked off his fingers. Remember that? That was really, Trump said that was gross. It really was gross. No stories. So I called one of these prominent conservative air quotes, editors called me and said, you know, this or that about Corona. And I said, why are you attacking us for spreading Corona when we had one case out of 10,000 people? We didn't have a super spreader. Why are you saying that? Here's the answer. Very famous person, I won't use his name. Matt, that's what you get for supporting Trump. You're going to have to deal with the fact that you brought this to the country. And that really was a wake-up moment for me. So then we spent some time in our house, you know, we're like all of us, I'm yelling at my pastor, I'm saying, well, open up the church, what do you do? We're all kind of in this crazy state. Something wonderful happened to my family during Corona. I watched that Chiron, then I watched the violence of Black Lives Matter destroyed Washington. Washington, I don't know if it ever comes back. It was on a pretty good trajectory in a lot of ways. Now that Black Lives Matter plaza, by the way, we're going to have a premiere right there. You guys should come up to it. How's that going to look? Nice? That'll be a nice juxtaposition. But I did something I thought I would never do, because when I bought my house, because I'm a dude, I bought big TVs and put them everywhere. I thought, this is heaven, TV everywhere. Football games, you can watch, you know, Laura Ingraham or whatever. All that was going on the screen, I did something I thought I'd never do. I turned it off. I turned off television. I stopped ingesting the hate and the falsehoods, even on platforms that we like. The panic to get you to fear things. If my wife and I went on TV, we weren't allowed to bring up Corona. You know why? We're not a doctor. You're not allowed to know who's a boy or a girl. You know why? You're not a biologist. Think about it. You can't talk about the violence of Black Lives Matter. Why? I'm so white, my hair's even white. Can't bring it up. You would go on shows and you would step out there and talk about the outrage we all felt. And there was like a silencing, a canceling. Too much. Too aggressive. And after all of this, after everything we've been through, and the election, where I went to Nevada and saw the fraud firsthand, I flew on a plane, I told everybody I flew out with, and I said, look, I've done this my whole life, I was in the Florida recount, we're going to find fraud, it's going to frustrate us. It won't be enough to make a difference. Lord, I eat those words, and we hit the ground and we saw what they did. It was more than enough to switch the outcome. But you couldn't say it. Couldn't talk about voter fraud. I even was careful. I would try to sneak it in around the person interviewing me. I would just kind of go around to the side. Next thing you know, I'd lower the boom about what we found in Nevada. But they wouldn't even let you use the word fraud. It's not a free country when almost everybody in media can control almost everything everybody says. And I remember getting a phone call from someone who said, have you taken the vaccine? I said, you know, I'm really mad about the vaccine because I flew all over this country. I got accused of spreading this thing. And then I got so mad that I said, I won't wear a mask and I won't stop traveling. So I just kept going everywhere. You should see that Sebastian and Katie noticed in Northern Virginia. If you go running around without a mask on around there, they get pretty mad at you. And these kids would yell at me too. I was like, I'm too old to be talking to you like that. You say, at least say please. You know? But we went all over the country, and I realized it's like, okay, maybe I should get this Chinese Corona thing. I couldn't get it. I campaigned for Trump like a wild man throughout that whole period of time. I was on the bus. It was funny. I'd be on the Trump bus, and then everybody would get Corona, and I wouldn't get Corona. And I was like, Mercy, I got great news for you. Like, you've married Superman. I can't get it. I'm trying to get it. I can't get it. I just can't get it. You know, like so many of us, eventually I did get it. And I thought it was great when I got it. So I was like, I have the greatest excuse to take the world's longest nap. I think I took a nap for 2 weeks. It was wonderfully refreshing. But someone called me during that period of time and said, hey, would you get the vaccine? I said, no, I'm not getting the vaccine. Why would I need the vaccine? I can't get it. And besides, I said, I'm fine. And then someone else said, well, you know, if you would talk about the vaccine, I bet, you know, somebody might hire you to talk about the vaccine. I was like, wait a minute, what? Somebody might hire me to talk about the next thing when I go on TV? Isn't that like illegal or something? Oh, no, people do that. And I was like, oh my God, that's what's going on. So what's going on in the election? What was going on in the violence of Black Lives Matter? What's been going on about the insanity about this virus? It's not only do you have people that are culturally left that are trying to shut it down, you actually have people that are financially benefiting from saying the opposite of what is true. And so I was advised after all of this, and I promise I'm stopping, Elizabeth. I was told by all my friends, and I put some tweets out on Black Lives Matter, basically attacking them for burning down churches, destroying statues of Jesus and his mother, desecrating Jewish cemeteries. I didn't even get into the race question. I was getting into the fact that 9 months of abortion, post-birth abortion, no dads, no moms, the government runs the races the children, radical stuff is on their website that my team found. That's all I was tweeting. That was enough to destroy all my commercial enterprises, every single one. Gone. It started with Kavanaugh and went through. People just feel like they can make us stop. And what all my friends who are smart said, take a year off, go away, don't talk, it'll blow over. And I sat down with my wife, who's great, by the way, and we said, no, we're too late in the game. The country's going to either make it or not make it in literally the next couple of years. I don't know how much more time America has. 250 years is a long time for a democracy, let the historians tell you. We've had a good run. This could be the end of the run. But it will not be the end of the run if you start to use your voice. And you start to stand up. And you go out to those booths like Marlon's talked about. You sign up. And you put your feet in the game. And you put your mouth in the game. And you put your ears in the game and your brain in the game. We have a chance to turn this whole thing around. And I feel like in the last couple months, we have found our voice. I feel like with the wins in Virginia, and what the jury decided in Kenosha, and what's happening all over this country, we have a chance. And I leave you with one final thought. Some people are cheaters, and some people think cheating is wrong. But the real question for those in the middle, who would sometimes cheat, and sometimes not cheat, when do they decide to cheat? When they're going to lose. Why do you know they cheated so badly in the last election? Why? What's your proof? Their proof is they were going to lose without the cheating. So take the converse of it for all of you, even in Jersey. Guess what that means? Do the math. There really is more of us than there are of them. There's more of us in Pennsylvania and Michigan and Wisconsin than there are of them. The only way they can prevent our victory was to break the law. Now that's not good, and we can all be upset about it. But we can also take the good out of it. What if we stop the cheating and we get even more of our neighbors to vote and get engaged? We're going to take this country back, and it might just start in New Jersey. What do you say?